Join the conversation
on Dubai Eye 103.8.
App powered by Etihad Airways.
2020 towards the next 50. Implementing a new strategy, chapter of growth and innovation, which will shape the United Arab Emirates for generations to come.
Offscript Extra Time with Chris and Robbie.
Join the conversation on Dubai Eye 103.8.
It is 7:05 on your Monday evening. It is the week of the 31st edition of the Amiga Dubai Desert Classic, the oldest golf tournament in the Middle East. And somehow, I'm not sure how we've managed to persuade these guys to come in and give us an hour of their time, Chris McCarty. But we're joined in studio by two greats, two men who have tasted major success on the world of golf stage.
We have indeed. Martin Kaymer, a two-time major winner, 2010 PGA Championship, 2014 US Open Championship. And we say a very good evening to Martin now. Good evening, Martin.
Good evening.
Great
Thanks
to
for
have
having
you
me.
in the studio. And he's joined by another man, a man who's put on that famous green jacket. I take you back to 2016, Masters champion. It is the one and only Danny Willett. We say good evening, Danny.
Good evening.
Great to have you boys in.
We've clipped up a couple of highlights for you guys.
This is just to butter you up,
Let's start
essentially.
with Danny. Let's wind our memories back to 2016.
Been watching all the Nicholas tributes this week. The 30-year anniversary of the epic 86 Masters. Jack and Jackie together. Jackie wore bib number 89 when he caddied for his dad 30 years ago. And Jonathan Smart, bib 89 for Danny Willett.
Danny, thinking about that, superstitions in golf are commonplace. But when you reflected on the fact that your caddy wore the same bib as Jack, and I think you'd become the next Englishman since Nick Faldo 20 years afterwards to win the Masters. If you weren't superstitious, maybe that was the time to get superstitious.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy things that go on, and people kind of, stats guys pick numbers from everywhere, and the bib one was kind of the most iconic. And I'm not sure if Jack was last man in that week, but obviously because Zach was born the week before, we were last man in 2016. So yeah, to see the pictures of Jack when he won all them years ago, and then myself and Smarty with the bib on, it's pretty cool.
And Martin, your victory in 2014 at the US Open, it was iconic, and it was by a huge margin as well.
Just like he did all week. Runs it home, and Martin Kaymer is a U.S. Open champion at Pinehurst. Very impressive.
The voice there at the end of Johnny Miller, who shot maybe one of the all-time great US Open rounds at Oakmont in 1973. And when he's saying what you did at Pinehurst was impressive, that must be kind of surreal to hear.
Well, it wasn't a very impressive performance for myself too. You know, after 2 rounds, I was 10 under par, which was very surprising for me, because when I played the practice round after Wednesday, I got asked where I can see the winning score. And I said, some maybe 2 or 3 over par will have a good chance. So I really underestimated my game and everything. I had no idea how to play the golf course, apparently. In the end, I played it really, really well. It didn't really match with my thought on Wednesday after my round. But then the challenge was to keep the expectations low over the weekend and don't try to match the same score on Thursday and Friday. It's a new day, it's a new 18 holes ahead of you, and that was the biggest thing for me and the most difficult thing.
2 career highlights for the both of you. I mean, give us an insight, and I'll come to you, Danny. I mean, we see you side by side here. I mean, for those out there that don't follow golf, or perhaps are naysayers when it comes to the sport of golf, give us an insight. How close are you guys, the guys on tour? I mean, you travel all around the world. I appreciate that, there is a lot of travel. You're staying in luxurious kind of places. Do you guys, and it might not be Martin, it could be another players and others out there, do you socialise? Are you all close on tour?
Yeah, you get obviously different mixes. Guys with families, guys without families, guys who are single, guys who are married or got girlfriends, whatever it may be. I think probably I'd say less social these days, purely because when the family travels and stuff, you've got obligations to help look after the kids, and then when you do get a chance, you obviously try and go out and see friends. I've known Martin for a lot of years now, and both played in America at the same time, both played in Europe at the same time. Martin's done a hell of a lot for the game, within European golf, for Ryder Cups, and obviously being world number 1, 2 majors. It's an impressive resume, and obviously we've been out a few times for dinner and stuff, but yeah, you end up. You don't really play the same schedules. You don't sit down all the lads and match your schedules up so you can go out for dinner with each other. You play what schedule matches where you're going, and a lot of the time you know various parts of the world, traveling on your own, and yeah, you meet up with the guys and you go for dinner and a couple of beers, and I think it's probably a bit more sociable on the European tour than what it is on PGA Tour.
You mentioned their family. I appreciate you've got teams that travel with you as well. Does it ever get, and I want to delve straight into, does it ever get lonely, Martin, honestly? You ever on tour, because the riches and all the money that you guys play for on a weekly basis, you travel the world, you get to see some beautiful places. Are you ever lonely as a golfer?
There's a good book that Thomas Bjorn wrote, or that he was involved in. A few of the players, I don't know if Danny was involved as well. That came out after the Ryder Cup. The Golfers, what was it called again? Golfers Mind Game. I think it was called Mind Game, and it's talked a lot about that loneliness of athletes in general, but also for us golf players. I wouldn't say I feel lonely sometimes, but you feel alone. And I think there's a difference that, loneliness can be depressive as well.
Yeah.
But that was even more important, to surround yourself with good people, bring them out sometimes, ask your friends, ask your family, to join you to certain tournaments in the world, make it a fun week. Golf is just a very small part of our life. It's a big part, but in general, it's a very small part. So you need to find that balance, and you need to ask people that care about you, that you care about them, and to bring them out to enjoy the weeks together. And then, I noticed I feel a lot more comfortable, and then I can enjoy the game more. And what you said earlier, those luxury hotels, food, places where we go, you can enjoy it. You can enjoy it always more when you have someone with you instead of doing it by yourself.
Golf's it's a strange game in many ways, and as you guys say, it's an individual sport, but also there's always a constant need, I suppose, to be evolving one's game. And we've seen Tiger Woods, I think he changed his swing about 4 times. When you're out on tour and you're always hearing different ideas and you've got different things that you want to work on with your swing, and you achieve something like you guys have done, which is win major championships, sort of how do you keep moving forward? Is there always that sort of willingness, that want, that desire, Danny, to tinker about and to sort of fiddle about with things? Or is it about maintenance? Is it about sort of keeping what you've been doing and continuing to do that?
I don't really know, to be honest. I think, obviously, Martin has been world number 1, so then there is nothing else. Theoretically, there is no further you can go. So then do you try and maintain, or do you then keep trying to push boundaries? I think a lot of us look up to Tiger is because he was obviously world number 1 for a hell of a long time, and we then saw him change things and trying to keep pushing boundaries and trying to keep getting better and better. I think he's probably driven a lot of people to try and do the same thing behind him. I don't think I enjoy trying to maintain playing all right or playing well. You want to keep getting better. If there's something you could improve on, then you might as well start straight away and try and improve on that going forward, because you know that down the line it might not happen in the next week or the next month or the next year even. But if it's something that's going to help you 10 years from now, then it's probably something worthwhile doing.
The process and we were quite fortunate, we sat down with Bryson DeChambeau, the golfing scientist, and we asked the question to him this past week, do you enjoy the process more than the competition? And he said, yeah, probably, I do. I like tinkering with things. I enjoy that. I enjoy learning about the game and learning about myself playing the game more than maybe I do the competition. With regards to what you boys get out of the game, and I'll come to you first and foremost, Martin. I mean, you're a 2-time major winner. You've won 3 Ryder Cups. I mean, what keeps you still playing the game of golf? Is it the love of it? Is it pressure from sponsors? Where does your drive to continue? And I guess the second point of that question, does it matter to you moving forward if you ever win another major, truthfully?
Well, I think moving forward is the most important, but you need a plan. You need a plan in order to move forward. So, and I think the biggest mistakes that a lot of athletes do and a lot of people in general do, that I've also done, is compare yourself with others. What Danny just said, is it about maintaining the number 1 in the world like Tiger did? But it's always about other people. They have done it. You get compared, you get rated, and our sport is about results. I get that. But for me, talking about loneliness and being alone, there was probably the most loneliness moment in my career to be number one in the world that evening, because there was no one there to celebrate it with. So, and people treat you very different, and that was very strange for me, and I didn't really enjoy that. So what I really enjoyed was that whole process, the way to get there, and that is motivating me to try a different way. You know, I got criticized a lot for trying to hit a draw from the tee, because I was never able to do this. So why doesn't he continue with his fate? Because he keeps winning tournaments. But it's not all about the results. For other people, it's about the results. But for me, it wasn't about the result. It's about moving forward. And what Denny said, maybe what is down the line the next 5-10 years, that is important, because we can have such a long career. So you sacrifice a couple of years for the long run. In other sports, you can't really do this. But this is, I think, what golf players, where our luxury is the time that we have, because our career can be 20 years or more.
So on that point then, does winning another major, does it matter to you? And honestly, and I'm asking for...
Of course. I mean, it matters hugely. Otherwise, I wouldn't... I have a really bad motivation to win the other two majors that I haven't won yet. You know, then I can quit. Then I won everything. Then I wouldn't travel.
If you won the Masters and you won the Open, would you quit?
Well, I wouldn't travel 30 weeks a year. I wouldn't do this. You know, I would really just play the tournaments that really make me happy. I go to places that I really enjoy. Sometimes you go to places that you don't really like, but it's just part of the job. And, you know, practicing in the winter time for 4, 5, 6 weeks away from the family over Christmas, New Year's. But this is what I'm doing in order to win those two majors. I wouldn't do this if I would have won all 4 majors.
And that actually indicates, because we always wonder whether we overblow the significance of major championships in the media. And there's no doubt the media zoom in on the majors and they make a huge deal of that. But as players, Danny, I mean, your life must have changed dramatically when you won the Masters. And I guess expectations that you put on yourself must have also changed when you won the Masters as well. I mean, what would be the most sort of profound way that your life did change following that week in Augusta?
You kind of we were watched then from morning till night. Every time we stepped on a driving range on a putting green at a golf tournament, 12 hours a day, there was a camera crew following you around. What's he doing here? What's he doing here? You know, and before that week, I think we were still 20th in the world. We were still, you know, as far as athletes go, it's pretty good at what you do. But someone wasn't following you around all the time. And then, obviously, the weeks after that, every tournament you went to, there was just more demands on your time. We just had Zach, so, you know, there's more demands on your time in other walks of life as well. And for me, it became a little bit too much to try and juggle and make everyone happy. I travelled a little bit more because people wanted you to go play in Asia and around the world and go do clinics here and there and stuff. And I went and did them. But then you get to the end of the year and I was pretty burnt out. I was tired. When you get tired, you do things wrong. Your injuries crop up. Mentally, you're fatigued. You know, it just kind of started to snowball a bit in a bad way, really, from there, which was a shame because we just obviously had Zach and I wanted to be at home seeing him more, but the demands on my time for golf and stuff were probably the most they've ever been. So, I really struggled to kind of juggle everything and to get, you know, my time locked down and properly arranged. So, you know, if hopefully, fingers crossed, I get to win another major and then I will do things slightly differently next time.
The voice of Danny Willett. We're in conversation with Danny and Martin Kaymer between now and 8 o'clock. If you've got a question, 4001 on the text lines. We'll take a short break. More when we come back.
This is the Dubai Eye Weather Watch.
In association with Air Arabia.
Join the conversation
On Dubai Eye 103.8.